Good day, everyone, here in the TED Talk. I am Maria Bettina VIANCA and Rayala with my partner, Miss Angela Kate DALLUAY. We'll be discussing the Pakistan's economic development. Pakistan is commonly known as the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, gained independence from the Dominion of Pakistan on August 14, 1947. Muhammad bin Qasim's Islamic dominance over the Indian subcontinent was the beginning of the Pakistani nation. Pakistan became an Islamic democratic country in 1956 according to the constitution. According to Anjum et al. Of 2017, Pakistan's economy emerges in the late 1940s with the emergence of a new national economy, primarily based on agriculture. Pakistan was renowned at the time of one of the world's fastest growing economies. It returns to a traditional economy and Pakistan remains one of the world's leading economies. However, during the early and late 90s, Pakistan's economy dropped its rate of growth in the economy. It is slowly experiencing drop in the percentage in the economy that they also experienced two big slowdowns during this time, specifically the year of 1993 and the 1997. After a brief resurgence following the 1997 setback, growth slowed dramatically in 2001. Since 2002, it has been on the mend with particularly robust development between 2004 and 2007. Until today, Pakistan did not cope from the big slowdown of their economy.
Have you ever experienced having not enough budget or income to support your expenses? Well, it is not only you who experiences that. For years, Pakistan has been experiencing this problem. Its expenditures continue to increase, but the problem is its income does not grow like its expenses, leaving the country in debt. And do you want to know why Pakistan experiences this? If you do, then listen as we dig more about the causes of this country's distress. Tax is essential in a country because through collecting tax, the government can fund its project for the improvement of their citizens and country. And according to Ahmed in 2018, one of the main reasons for the income and expenditure imbalance happening in Pakistan is the low income generated from its taxes, and this is caused by the number of weaknesses found in its taxation system. So, what are these weaknesses? First is the narrow tax base that Pakistan has. Although Pakistan has recorded 116 million working population in 2018, only 1 million filed for taxes in that year. It has increased to 3 million in the following year, but it was still insufficient to relieve the country's problem. Additionally, tax avoidance is evident in Pakistan. In 2016, less than half of the firms registered for a tax return, and what makes the situation worse is that half of those filers filed for a zero return. Other than that, Pakistan has a problem with its federal and provincial tax collection, as provincial taxes only contributes 4 to 7% of the total revenue of the country. On the other hand, they receive 35% from the government to cover the expenses. It is a big difference, right? Another source of income of a country is its exports. Pakistan is a country that has a various export products such as textiles, agriculture and food products, engineering and manufacturing commodities, and metals and minerals. However, Pakistan's export performance has continued to deteriorate through the years, affecting the country's export income. Now we're done talking about the reason behind the country's low revenue. Let's move on to another cause of this problem, which is the increase in Pakistan's expenditure. Included in Pakistan's expenditures are the subsidies, and its exceeded the budget allocated for it. In 2010, the country saw an increase of 9.41% in its expenditures, which is alarming as if it is compared to the year 2008, an increase of 40.70% is recorded. Moreover, one third of the country's budget expenditure is already covered by its interest payment on debt, which is expected to grow more from the fiscal year, which will make the situation worse. You might be wondering if Pakistan did anything to resolve this problem. Well, they did. For years, the country attempted to implement several policies to stabilize its economy. This includes SBP raising the discount rate by 150 basis points to 12% in response to the rising inflation and currency devaluation. Severe limits on foreign exchange trading were also implemented to combat speculative foreign exchange trading. Since the government's response is still ongoing, the economy of Pakistan being stabilized is yet to see.
How Pakistan's new government responds to the country's economic woes will decide the impact of the current economic and political unrest. Considering how long Pakistan has been coping with a macroeconomic problem that has impacted both the economy and politics, there are both plausible and impossible scenarios for Pakistan's economy in the event of a revenue and spending imbalance in the public sector. First, there is no discontent or disturbance as a result of the elimination of food and fuel subsidies and global conditions improve, no recessions or slowdown would occur, and significant inflation would be avoided, restoring Pakistan's economic confidence. Secondly, is in Pakistan, the removal of food and fuel subsidies, rising inflation, higher taxes, and rising unemployment have all contributed to insecurity and discontent. The world situation will continue to deteriorate. Furthermore, the problem of stagflation would be worsened. Owing to the pressures, this partnership is unable to stand by the government and reverses its stated policies. Or worse, the coalition government disintegrates due to the disagreement and strife resulting in a political instability. Therefore, we recommend these policies. For subsidies, the so-called proxy means testing method can be used to develop an objective targeting system for locating low-income housing. This method uses key household characteristics including the lack of televisions, refrigerators, pipelines or water-sealed toilets, as well as very cheap electricity costs to identify poor households. And also, to improve the effectiveness of the target system, a co-responsibility system can be implemented in which households receiving cash transfers and subsidies are required to continue sending their children to school, allowing them to receive immunization and health services, and enrolling in livelihood programs. For budget deficit, Pakistan's budget deficit is attributable to a lack of revenue generating skills rather than fiscal profligacy. As a result, the government must assess its spending structure and eliminate any redundant categories or activities that have questionable benefits. The Fiscal Responsibility and Debt Limitation Act of 2005 was passed to give the federal government a strong institutional framework for restoring fiscal control. The goal is to make the government's budgetary activities more transparent. And lastly, for the inflation and depreciation, higher demands for exports as well as increased production of import competitive items might spill over into demand for non-tradable goods because of increased income in tradable producing sectors, resulting in growth-related externalities. The cost of borrowing money rises as interests rise. As a result, investment is discouraged and growth is inhibited. Businesses will be less likely to use debt financing if interest rates become more variable, instead relying on internal resources. As a result, high and fluctuating interest rates hinder capital market efficiency.
To wrap things up, let us look back on the things that we have discussed earlier. Pakistan, which has been suffering from an imbalance due to having an increase in its expenditures while receiving low income from its tax and exports, continued to make efforts to relieve this problem. However, these efforts may not be enough as the countries continue to have trouble reaching a manageable pace. And after taking some considerations, there are recommended adjustments to balance its income and expenditure, focusing on the country's subsidies, budget deficit, and inflation and depreciation. It may be hard for Pakistan to be free of this problem as it may take years to resolve it, but the fact that the country has been continuously fighting against this issue is commendable, and by applying different policies, Pakistan can increase the possibility of reducing its burden of imbalance between income and expenditure and see better days in the future. Once again, I am Angela Casey DALLUAY together with Bettina Rayala presenting our analysis of Pakistan's macroeconomic problem, income, and expenditure of the public sector. Thank you.